This is Twit. This is Triangulation, episode 360, recorded August 10th, 2018, for airing August 17th, 2018. Sal Soghoian, Part 2. Triangulation is brought to you by ZipRecruiter. Hiring is challenging, but there's one place you can go where hiring is simple and smart. That place is ZipRecruiter, where growing businesses connect to qualified candidates. Try it free at ZipRecruiter.com/triangulation. It's time for Triangulation, the show where we talk with some of the most interesting people in tech. Part 2 today, because it was so good and we didn't want to stop, of our conversation. You saw it last week with Sal Soghoian, the guy who really became known as the face of AppleScript and Automator at Apple. He left Apple a few years ago, but he's keeping automation alive. And this time I'm going to put him on the spot, and I'm going to ask him stories about Steve Jobs. So welcome Sal Soghoian to Triangulation. So Sal, you've got a lot of Steve Jobs stories. Tell us a few. You were so lucky to get to work with him. I'm sure you didn't feel that way every day.
Well, he was lucky to get to work with me.
He was lucky to get to work with you. See, that's the right answer.
You know, I wasn't afraid of Steve.
Yeah.
And he never yelled at me the entire time we knew each other.
Amazing.
He never yelled at me.
He respected you.
He respected me. And he put my stuff on stage multiple times.
Yeah.
And I heard from, like, one time Katie Cotton told me that, I was the only guy he applauded. He was sitting in the back of the room at some big presentation, and that I was the only guy he applauded.
Liked you. Yeah.
He called me Saul, though.
Yeah, he didn't know your name.
He didn't know my name.
The whole time.
Saul.
Hey, Saul.
So Naomi says that there's 10 guys named Saul who got fired at Apple, and they have no idea.
Fire Saul. We don't like that Saul. Better call Saul.
So the guy that was in charge of advertising was a guitar player, a cool dude. And he was in New York at some show, and he got roped into flying back from New York with Steve. Steve hated flying. And he would start talking because he was nervous on the plane.
Oh, that's funny.
And so Alan's flying back from New York with Steve on the company jet. And he's telling me about, the whole story about Steve Blabb and everything. And he says, did you know what his favorite movie is? I said, what? He goes, Patton. Because Patton was his favorite movie. And I said,
that was Nixon's favorite movie.
I said, wow. Okay, that's pretty interesting.
No kidding.
And so I went back,
it's a great
and
movie.
I wrote Steve an email.
Yeah.
And I said, Steve, I said, I'm just a soldier. I'll do what you tell me to do. I'll fight the fight. I said, I'll take it to him and I won't let up. I said, but you got me out here with no supply line. I'm out in the middle of nowhere with no supplies. How can I take it to Microsoft if I don't got the tools I need? The next day,
That's very
I get a call
funny.
from Espinoza going, what did you do? And I went, what? He goes, we got a 2:00 appointment with Phil and Avi. And so we walk in over in Building 2, and there's Phil and Avi, and he goes, what do you guys need? What do you want?
OMG.
To get, an interface. And they were thinking, do you want to buy a company, or what do you want to do? And Espinoza's brilliant. Espinoza goes, no, man, we want to be with part of Project Builder and Interface Builder. We want to be a language. And then Avi goes, oh.
Avi would get that.
Yeah, Avi goes,
that's a good idea.
Okay, that's a good idea. He goes, how many people do you need? And Espinoza goes, 1. He goes, 1? He goes, yeah, we want Tim Bumgarner. And that was it. And they said, okay, you got whatever you want. And it's in a project, you're approved.
That's nice.
And so that created AppleScript Studio. Based upon that one observation.
A little patent goes a long way.
One email to Steve, that was it.
I love it. That's brilliant.
So how long did you work on getting that email short?
Yeah, and, Steve used to send me an email. He'd send me a question, like in an email. Should we do blah? And then it would take like 6 hours.
Oh yeah, because you got to really.
So I'd have to first of all figure out what it was he wanted to know. I'd research it, and then I had to, distill that down to like a paragraph with 3 reference links. Always a paragraph with 3 reference links.
That's what he wanted.
Yes. and nobody would ever tell you that, but that's
You learned.
That's what I learned. It's a paragraph with 3 reference links, and that's basically
How interesting.
I used to hear from him occasionally, on different projects and stuff, and he would ask me to do things, and sometimes he would have me in meetings where I really didn't belong
Why
there.
am I here? Yeah.
But there was some reason that he trusted me or wanted me to hear stuff. Like he would go in, I saw him pitch companies, do pitches to companies where he kicked out every Apple employee except for me in the room. And I'm sitting there watching Steve pitch, and I'm like, whoa, okay, that's a salesman.
I want you to write a book. Is he going to write a book?
It's not the guy that I didn't work with that guy.
No, that's the thing.
I worked with
You had a unique perspective on who this guy was, and admittedly, he was many things to many people.
He might have been that guy. I don't know, but he never was that guy to me.
Yeah, that's the point, and I think it would be really interesting to hear from you. Have people interviewed you and talked to you? Or?
I've told a couple stories, but I've never really told the depth of.
You want to come on and we could? It doesn't have to be a book. We could do As Told To. Sal Segoyan As Told To Triangulation. I'd love to hear more Steve stories. Do you have a whole bunch of them?
Yeah. So
who doesn't want to hear more Steve stories?
I'm doing the Leopard Tech Talk tour with John Galenzi and the Evangelism crew. We're in New York. We drop by the Apple Glass store.
Soho.
The manager sees us that we're there. He gives us a tour of the store and everything.
Nice.
We're coming out of the store, walking down Fifth Avenue, and the guy next to me, he's this guy who was in charge of printing, like Mr. Mort Meek, bland guy. Very, very nice man. Very good, efficient, well-knowing, knowledgeable person. Just a quiet man. Yeah. And the guy starts elbowing me. And I'm like, what the hell? What? And he's going like this. And I turn to my left, and it's SJ. And I go, Steve. And he goes, Saul. And so we're walking together down Fifth Avenue, right? And he goes, what the hell are you doing here? I said, I'm doing the Leopard Tech Talk tour. And I go, what are you doing here? He goes, I'm in town. The wife's got me buying stuff. It's
so funny.
And so we walk for a block, and he goes, so how's the thing going? We're talking, and what do you, what do they like best? And I'm, and I said, so how's the holiday? And he's like, and so he goes, I got to go in here. He stops at some shop, and he goes, but will you do me a favor? Before you leave, will you drop by the Soho store? They need some love. And I'm standing there.
What does that mean?
Steve's telling a joke. It's Steve telling a joke. And I'm like blown away that Steve's telling a joke, and I start laughing.
Not known for his joking?
No, but he was actually telling a joke.
They need some love.
They need some love.
Did you ever say, Steve, it's Sal?
What do you mean?
Did you ever correct him?
No. Katie Cotton did that.
Katie said that.
When I
Steve, that's not Saul.
When I did the presentation for Automator at WWDC, and I was on stage, I'm standing there rehearsing, and I'm standing, and Steve's like leaning against the stage right here with Katie next to him. And it's Steve go, no, Saul, you need to do that. And she goes, Sal. No, Saul, no, Sal. No, Saul, no, Sal. And I turned to Katie, and I go, Katie, let him call me whatever he wants. I don't care. And and I'm correct. It went in one ear and out the other with him. And so when he called me up on stage, I'm sitting backstage getting ready to go on. And you can see the video of this. This is all recorded, right? I'm backstage with the handler, and he has a headset. The handler's phone goes off. It's SJ. SJ is somebody else is presenting. SJ walked off the stage on the other side. He calls over to say, what's Saul's name? And he goes, I knew it was SJ because he goes, no, it's Sal. It's Sal Segoyan. What's his title again? Product manager, blah, 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 right?
On a card?
And so Steve comes back on to introduce me, and he over-clicks the thing.
Oh.
So he doesn't have the slide that says,
slide.
And he says, and here to show Automator is Saul, who you all know. And I'm standing down here at the bottom, and I look up at him, and he's got this look like, I can't believe I at up. And he's
man.
looking at me, and I'm trying to keep from laughing. And I'm saying, "Thank you, Steve. We appreciate this.
You all know.
And so I get back to my office the next day, and my name tag's off the door. And instead of Sal Segoyan, it's Saul, who you all know, spelled like it was French, Jaullnaaux or something like that.
And I'd like to invite Saul up on the stage, whom you all know, to give us a demo of all.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Saul, who you all know. He looks exactly the same.
I'm
12 years
thrilled to be
later.
here today to show you this innovative, groundbreaking application.
Sal is the best. Right. Sal Segoyan's our guest. I want to take a little break. Our show today brought to you by ZipRecruiter. If you're doing the hiring in your company, if you're the HR or you're like me, you're a small company, you got to do it all. The worst time actually is when you're down a person. You need to hire because somebody's left, and you're already doing two things at once. Now you got to find somebody. ZipRecruiter to the rescue. This is the best way to find that right person. Now let's stipulate the right person's out there, the perfect person for the job. We actually just went through this. Our bookkeeper left. She got another job. She gave us 2 weeks' notice. And Lisa, who otherwise, is otherwise occupied, is now going to have to do the accounting too. She says, "Oh no." So I said, "Well, this is perfect. We can use ZipRecruiter," and we did. And it was an amazing thing. We did this at breakfast. She posted the job probably 8 or 9 a.m. Before lunch. It was great. I'm sitting here and we're talking. She keeps explaining, "Oh, another one. Before lunch, we had 4 very qualified candidates. They rolled right in. Now, let me tell you why this works so well and so fast. First of all, and by the way, we'd been through this before, and it was a nightmare. ZipRecruiter really was the right way to do this. ZipRecruiter posts your job to over 100 of the world's leading job boards. But they don't stop there. With their powerful matching technology, and this was the thing that was giving us these results so fast, ZipRecruiter goes through millions of resumes to find people with the right experience and then invites them to apply for your job. It's kind of like they're headhunting for you. As the applications come in, ZipRecruiter, before you see them, they analyze them, spotlight the top candidates, and that's why Lisa was going, oh, it was such a good feeling to know, hey, we're not going to be a month with Lisa running the company and trying to keep the books. We're going to find somebody. We're going to find somebody fast. Thank you, ZipRecruiter.